Well, hello. This is the Non-Prophets. Do you have an intro for us?
I do.
Did our sound just cut out?
I think so. I can't hear a thing except my own voice in my own
If we
head.
are, I'll check if we're live on the internet right now. We may be experiencing some technical issues, which will be briefly dealt with.
We are.
Yeah.
All right.
It says we're live now. That's always good to figure out from this.
Before we start saying
Before we
things
start
we'll
saying things.
regret.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I'm screwing with my earbud, yeah.
Yeah. So the other day, I realized there is a Jesus, but I'm going to keep pretending.
That's right. God.
Okay.
Yeah.
You too?
That's a joke. Yeah. Hashtag Me Too
Quite
Jesus
the
edition.
revelation there, Jamie.
Yeah. So in any case, welcome to the Non-Prophets. I can't hear myself. Hopefully,
I can't hear myself.
Well, they're saying that they hear us, so that's good. Welcome. We don't believe a God exists.
Welcome.
Usually there's a...
Hey, that's right.
I didn't want to cut off. Did you want to do your intro?
I can do an intro.
Yeah, it doesn't feel right without the
Dennis,
intro.
All right.
All right.
And we are the Non-Prophets. It's you I'm a little off here. It's you non-prophetists that need to prove that we're not Denis Loubet, along with Jamie Boone and Kevin Stein, coming to you live from the Free Thought Library in Austin, Texas on the 7th of November, 2018. You have to show that this program is not sponsored by the Atheist Community of Austin, a nonprofit educational organization for the promotion of positive atheism and the separation of church and state, and you have to demonstrate how their voicemail at 512-220-6561 and their website at www.atheist-community.org don't really exist. If it's not the Non-Prophets that broadcasts live every first and third Wednesday of each month from 7:30 to 9 Central Time, then what does? You'll have to establish that there's no one in our chat room by following the directions at www.nonprofitsradio.com. If you can't prove this, you'll just have to sit back and enjoy the show.
There it is. Now we've started off properly.
Yeah,
It's
that
not an
feels-
episode of the Non-Prophets without an intro from Dennis.
That feels better.
You're never allowed to leave the show.
All right.
So, anyone else having an interesting period of time before we get to elections?
Well,
No, the show will not be all elections. In
Yeah,
fact,
actually-
most of mine are actually don't have anything.
Yeah, me neither. Those
Those happened in the U.S.
That's going to be a big part of everybody's media diet for a while now. So I think maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, you probably don't want to hear a ton about the election right now.
Probably. I mean,
If you do, I'm sorry, we don't have any stories for you.
no, there's no real religious angle to it anyway,
Yeah.
Well-
other than evangelicals are,
it's funny that you say
destroying everything. So
that because there is an article. It was actually, it's not recent, but it's last 6 months, I think, that was reported by the AP, found it through the Independent, that white Christians are now a minority among the U.S. population.
Interesting segue.
Yes. thank
interesting.
you.
I like it.
Because it goes into detail about how, not just how, while Christians overall remain a large majority, nearly 70%, although that continues to shrink, white Christians, once predominant in religious life, comprise only 43% of the population. So the times in my life where I've seen people tweeting and messaging that American means white Christian, no, you're wrong.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. But there's an interesting point in here that relates both to the election and this.
Oh, okay.
Because it highlights the fact that it compares mainstream Christian to evangelicals. Here it is. The the changes occurred across the spectrum of Christian traditions, including sharp drops in membership in predominantly white mainline Protestant denominations, such as Presbyterians and Lutherans. I think a couple weeks ago we covered that there are now more witches than Presbyterians.
Yeah.
Don't hunt them, though. An increasing Latino presence in the Roman Catholic Church as some non-Hispanic white Catholics leave. The shrinking ranks of white evangelicals who, until recently, had been viewed as immune to decline. That was an interesting point that they brought up, which is that it had different surveys about whether or not evangelicals were still holding strong failed to catch this because they didn't highlight, polling for both religion and race. So as far as the, cultural aspects of our society, it's going to be interesting to see a louder and louder minority of, white Christians being upset about.
Yep.
Yeah.
That and some of the public dialogue, I don't know.
Well, it's sort of reveals the motives behind the quiverful nonsense.
Oh, jeez.
It does. They state it plainly, and I've spoken to people that went to the religious summer camps where they said, and remember, you have to grow up and have as many kids as you can.
Maintain our monopoly, maintain our majority.
Got to make sure our tribe
it has the most members.
Yep.
Let's see. The trends identified in the survey are fueling anxiety about the place of Christians in society, especially among evangelicals who are alarmed by support for gay marriage and an increasing share of Americans, about 1/4, who don't identify with a faith group. What? That's y'all.
Good.
And us. Boom. So Donald Trump got 80% of the votes from white evangelicals. They remain some of his strongest supporters. It's interesting because at one point I think he got higher support from evangelicals than even W. Bush got.
I seem to remember that as well.
Yeah.
But we could be wrong. So
But the interesting part...
Why they chose that as their...
Well, because he was Jesus. Why they chose orange?
Yeah.
Because he came after... Because for them, orange was the new black. So,
I guess.
Oh, Jamie.
Or orange was the new not black. So...
Man. Yeah.
Thanks.
I have to assume that is, in fact, the case.
Yeah. But what's interesting is that only about 17% of Americans now identify as white evangelical, compared to 23% a decade ago.
They're sure loud, though.
17.
That's one freaking loud 17%.
Yeah.
Jesus.
No kidding.
Yeah. So even membership in the Southern Baptist Convention, which is very conservative, it's it's the largest U.S. Protestant group, but it's just over the line into hardline Christianity outside of... It's weird to say that it's mainstream because it's not, but anyway...
nuns make up about 23%?
Yeah, about.
Yeah.
I think it's between 23 and 25.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the Southern Baptist Convention dropped to 15.2 million last year, which is its lowest number since 1990.
Wow.
Yeah.
Shocker. Yep.
Yeah, sort of interesting. It's a good study. It's a study by the PWRI. I forget the exact. It's like Protestant Religious Research Institute, something like that. Yeah, it's a good study, and there's more to it. I think what's interesting is that even amongst people that are religious and are Christian, I find, at least in my personal life, when I have discussions with them, it depends on how it's framed, right? Because
Yeah.
I wore a shirt the day before, on election day that was, build this wall, pointing to a wall between, the Capitol and a church. And people that I know that are Christians that are, raising their kids that way, like, nice shirt immediately upon seeing me. It was sort of, I'm in Austin, but, religion is pervasive. So, yeah,
pervasive.
It is sort of interesting. I think
it infests our country. Yeah.
Yeah. I think you wanted to highlight
before we got into some of the more
recent news stories. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're all kind of a bummer to some extent. And we had
welcome
the
to
midterms.
TheNonProphets.
Yeah, we had midterms
a breath of sunshine
yesterday, and I think a lot of people are, maybe disappointed or pissed off, or maybe just really kind of bummed out.
And possibly represented in the Senate by Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, Texans, have a reason to be disappointed.
I thought I wanted to plug actually a charity drive that somebody else is doing. If you're familiar with the Cognitive Dissonance podcast or the Scathing Atheist podcast or God Awful Movies, those guys are doing something called Vulgarity for Charity. And they're teaming up with modestneeds.org.
Which is a good charity, by the way.
It is. It's a crowdfunding charity. They strongly vet the people that get the funding. And
who are the benefactors of that charity? So what is their...
it is, like I said, modest needs. So anybody with, say, if you're living paycheck to paycheck and your car breaks down, you don't have enough money to fix the car and feed your family. Modest Needs can help you get the funding to get your car fixed. Little stuff like that
that's cool.
Everyone can relate to somebody that is needing money on this site.
Well, if you're if you're living paycheck to paycheck, every little unexpected expense is a financial emergency.
It's bad. A shameful percentage of the population does.
It does that.
Yeah.
So
and what's interesting is that there's that gap of not quite in poverty, like not just laid off, and not qualifying for welfare, where there isn't really a good support system. And I feel like this helps bolster that.
Yeah,
it's like
and
keeping people out of poverty.
If you wanna do specific things, like you want to help specifically vets, you can search for vets that need help. You can search for people who are victims of domestic violence. There's a lot of different categories that you can search specifically for. The Scathing Atheist and Cogdis, they're doing Vulgarity for Charity. If you donate $50 or more to Modest Needs and email them the receipt, they will roast anyone of your choice.
Oh, yeah. And they are experts at this.
Yes,
that
they
is a significant portion of the amusement of god-awful movies. Those guys are great.
And after today, I know who they're going to be roasting for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, can we do a...
No, I'm not going to say who, but yeah, I was unsure until today.
Yeah, I was going to say, we've mentioned the name of the Muppet vampire already in the show, so I think people will probably pick up on that.
Yeah, right.
And I don't know who you're thinking of. You, when I said Muppet vampire, thought of a person, so that's you.
So yeah, if you're frustrated, if you're bummed out, check out Modest Needs and help somebody else and help yourself, because you'll feel better. Because altruism is arguably, and it at least can be, kind of selfish.
Yeah.
Help somebody else out, make yourself feel better, do good. So with that said, I guess let's get into some...
Yeah, do something a Christian can't do.
Yeah,
let's do altruistically.
Let's go over some kind of depressing news, shall we?
Yeah, I was going to say, like I said earlier, it's about how you frame the criticism about whether or not it gets accepted.
Yes.
I cannot remember the joke I was going to tell for the transition to your story.
Was it?
Which story? Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Which is that there's a new story that I wanted to put on, but it doesn't have a direct religious angle, or does it? You decide. Which is that
Go for it.
there is a man who ended up trying to rob a Waffle House in his underwear. In Alabama, as it were.
Alabama?
Yes, Alabama.
You mean the Alabama that, as of yesterday, voted 72% to legalize putting up the 10 Commandments on government property?
I do mean that Alabama,
That Alabama,
thus
yeah.
making this ridiculous story about a man who went into the bathroom and then used his pants to tie the door shut and then crawled into the ceiling to try and get into the office and then fell through the ceiling in the main part of the Waffle House and tried and failed to flee the scene in his underwear.
Awesome.
Who did this in Alabama, and therefore it's related to Jesus.
I'm surprised it's not Florida, man. What?
Well played, Alabama.
Yeah,
played.
Well played.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so...
Tell us more about
That's right.
Alabama.
Florida goes, we've got Florida man. And Alabama goes, hold my beer.
And Alabama says, hold my waffle. Got this.
So, yeah, they voted to amend their state constitution. And like I said, it won with 72% of the vote.
Yep. Well, that clearly alleviates the concerns with the federal constitution. So
Yeah.
they're not going to run into any problems.
No.
Although with this Supreme Court, we'll see.
Yeah, the amendment was in part written up by, let's see, it was Dean Young, the campaign strategist for Roy Moore, who also served as chief advocate behind this amendment, made it clear he wanted Alabama to, quote, go down in history as the first state to acknowledge that we want God. That is, the Christian God, in their constitution.
God grief, people, we freaking know.
I thought,
we know that
one
a
of the
small
Carolinas
portion of
tried to do that earlier.
Did they?
It's not like we're freaking deaf.
Yeah. Although I think the most interesting part of that story is 28% of Alabama voted against that. So,
Yeah.
ha! Alabama is less religiously activist than we thought. Yeah, no, I was just going to say I didn't know that Roy Moore's campaign strategist was literate. But in any case, I think, Dennis, you have some stories as well you wanted to throw?
I have a passel of them.
Oh, boy.
I do not know this word.
You're not sure about this passel thing.
I just used context
Well, let's
clues.
see. What's a good one here?
Ooh, that one. Nah. Okay.
That one?
Yeah,
All
bring it
right.
on. Tell me about the caravan.
Right. The headline is Christian Minister, The Migrant Caravan is a strategy against the grand plan of God.
Yay.
Now, I haven't really vetted this story, but hey,
We're playing it fast and loose with the truth.
I am. Do
The
not take
creationist
this as
yeah.
written in stone, please.
I will
So
take it
begin
as
by-
gospel truth.
God created nations, Rohr says in an audio clip.
Fuck's sake.
Lagged by Right Wing Watch. He created borders. Act 17 actually talks about God establishing the nations before the beginning of the world. He defined even the borders, the geography. So when we fight against God's plan, we fight against God himself, he continued.
So he
So I
invented
guess
the
everything isn't
concept.
God's plan.
He invented the concept of borders.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, it's him
Max.
reading a part in the Bible where it references nations and then going, that means modern nation states.
From one man he made all the nations, that they should inhabit the whole earth. And he marked out their appointed times in history and the boundaries of their lands.
Yeah, but that doesn't. God,
What the hell, man?
God made countries exist. Therefore, this country should exist in this way. Okay,
And
even
therefore,
if
we should,
Yeah.
open fire on migrant caravans.
the things on the internet about that. One, asylum seekers. Not illegal
Not
to seek
illegal.
asylum.
No.
It's also not illegal
They're
for the United States
fleeing-
to reject asylum.
They're fleeing violence and
Yes, they're
oppression. It's like
But hey,
they're
let's
looking
meet,
for help.
Yeah, let's meet them with violence instead.
well,
Yeah.
But
Let's
even if I
send
accepted
soldiers
his
down.
premise, it doesn't say fuck all about the caravan.
Wouldn't God?
God has ordained that this nation is gonna accept 1 million asylum
Yeah.
seekers.
You have to
And
assume
you
that
trying
God
to
set up
shoot those
our
migrants
borders.
is working against his plan.
right.
God had to have set up our borders specifically in order for
Yes.
that to track.
Right.
So when
So
when Franklin Pierce campaigned on 5440 or fight, he was fighting against God's plan to have our border with Canada where it was. Although I may have just said the wrong president, but
either way,
probably they all have names.
who the fuck knows?
It's a matter of law. It's a matter of God's design. So when we oppose it, it's not biblical and it's not lawful. So therefore, how does one come about saying it's right?
I mean, I don't really know how many times we can say it that like, well, I think this about God, therefore God wants this for politics.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember that part in the Bible where Jesus said, you know what? You know what I want you to do? Go forth and register to vote, for I shall be the president of the Roman Senate and pass
right.
laws to...
It's all that voting that goes on in the Bible.
Yeah, all that voting, all the democratic republics.
It's like, yes, we want to make sure that everybody obeys the laws of our God, whether they believe in this God or not. It's like...
Sure, it's convenient that the infallible word of God is so malleable.
It is.
Yeah.
Amazingly malleable.
It's infallible when I say it, but not when you do. So...
Indeed.
Indeed. So I suppose I will take the next one, and
Sure.
keeping with my theme of liking
One ass wipe down.
what? What? The
The-
story. I was like,
Yeah.
what are you trying? What are you calling me?
It's not weird lyrics to that song. It's
So this is taken from an article, I believe, on the Huffington Post, reporting on a survey. But it talks about how a new Pew Research Center study shows that God, for a significant number of Americans, does not mean the God of the Bible.
okay.
Yeah, and oh no, it was James K. Polk, not Pierce.
Jamie, they can't.
Yeah. In any case, it was an online survey of almost 5,000 people, but only a slim majority of Americans describe themselves as believing in God, quote, as described in the Bible. That's 56%. So there are more people calling themselves Christian than say that their God is the God of the Bible. I don't find that surprising.
I mean, they're cultural Christians.
improvement.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, I'm a Christian. Oh, do you believe in the God of the Bible? No. Okay, well, you're helpful.
But that's the most popular assumption where I happen to grow up geographically.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to explore other faiths. I don't want to come up with anything on my own. I'm just gonna blindly sort of adopt the most popular thing around. It's so intellectually lazy.
Yeah, but I'll take it. I mean, it's kind of easier to argue against because, I'm spiritual. It doesn't have a rule book,
Yeah. Do you mean it's more difficult to argue against?
They don't have anything to fall back on. They don't have a appeal to authority that they can fall back on.
Well, they fall into the same sort of
It's a wishy-washy
They
thing.
fall into the non-Christian version of God works in mysterious ways, which is just, the ways of the universe.
Well, the higher power works in mysterious ways.
Well, actually, yeah.
And it's like the higher power. This is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. It's the higher power. I was going to say, you were reading my notes.
Was I going ahead?
No, you're fine.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Because on the other hand,
I wasn't paying
33% of Americans say that while they don't believe in that God, they do believe in some other power or spiritual force in the universe. Which, based on the way this...
And wavy emotion.
Yes.
Get the theremin going.
For those of you just with an audio format, I've done some hand waving throughout the story to highlight precisely how I feel about that. Let's see. Just the breakdown here. I just need to make charts instead of doing this. Those who identify or answer nothing in particular as far as their identity, a group that, previous Pew Research found at 22%, so is growing. Yeah, more recently, I think this study is between 6 and 12 months old. More recently, that continues to go up. People realize that if religions are de facto political bodies, then that's not what they're in for. 53% of them said they believe in a vague spiritual force. 17% confessed believing in the God of the Bible, and 2% were unclear on the particulars. Which is interesting because if I don't really know what I believe, but I believe it.
A vague spiritual force.
You can just say, just be an atheist.
Might be easier to sneak science into
the vague spiritual force.
An outlook like that. I don't know. It's.
I think it's easier to sneak science in, but I also think it's easier to sneak pseudoscience in.
Oh yeah, well,
absolutely.
Granted.
Yeah, because then you're like, well, it's a mysterious.
Gullible people
force.
are gullible.
What if Reiki actually works?
It's certainly better than fundamentalism. So
yes,
yeah. So what was interesting is that when this study was conducted, in 2017, so it is more than a year old, they actually followed the breakdown on multiple questions, which is they split yes answers from no answers. So to the question, do you believe in a God or not? 80% of people in this survey said yes. And then of those, right, breaking down that 80%, 56 said they believe in God as described in the Bible, and 23 said some other higher power, spiritual force, right? So 19% said, no, I don't believe in a God. But 9% of those, 9% said they do believe in some higher power, spiritual force, but not a God. Which, I mean, it's interesting
because it's harder to justify, beating up minorities at the behest of a vague spiritual thing.
I believe in the healing.
I think it's an improvement.
It is. Yeah. I believe in the healing power of crystals. Therefore, my people are the right people. Doesn't really follow.
Beat up them.
Yeah, and then 10%, which is up. It said they don't believe in any higher power or spiritual force, which is nice.
Yeah.
Incremental change.
Yeah,
incremental progress. We'll get there.
Yeah. So
but I guess, spiritualism and pseudoscience is kind of becoming the new thing. That is, religion is beginning to die, but it is being replaced with that.
Yeah. And organized religion is being replaced with disorganized religion. So.
It's not as bad, but it's still not great.
Yeah, it's less likely to have a get out the vote effort to vote for crystals. But so what's interesting is that they polled Christians as well. So Christians were most likely to say they believed in God described in the Bible. Only 80% of them said that. So 1/5 of Christians polled said they did not believe in God as described in the Bible.
They're a more liberal bent, I propose.
So they're not true Christians then?
Yes.
So, well, what's interesting is only 91% of evangelicals said they believed in God as described in the Bible.
That's their whole thing.
That's the whole thing.
Weird. Yeah. What do those 10% actually believe?
I don't know. I feel like the last 9% are like, well, he was kind of a communist in the New Testament, so we don't believe in that.
I don't believe in that.
Yeah, I mean, without
not
saying not a true Scotsman, like that is kind of their thing. I mean,
yeah.
How do they even?
How do you? Yeah.
You believe in the God of the Bible? Well, the Old Testament or the New Testament?
Yeah. But again, it breaks down by denomination, right? So only 26% of mainline Protestants and 28% of Catholics said they believe in a higher power or spiritual force, but not in the God of the Bible. Which
I don't think you can use the modifier only in that case. It's amazing that they do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's
it's
an
weird.
Interesting development.
It's weird, right? Like 33% of Jews said they believe in the God of the Bible, while 56% said they just believe in a higher power or spiritual force, which means I wonder
about the ones that say, "Oh, Christianity isn't a religion; it's a personal relationship with Jesus
philosophy."
Christ." What the hell? Which category did they fall in? I wonder.
I have no idea how they answer that question.
I don't know. I feel that's just kind of a lazy cop-out, apologetic that they don't really mean it. They just feel that it's an easy way to try and circumvent having a real discussion.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it basically would be however they answer the question. If you put the question in a survey, do you believe that a God exists?
Yeah.
It's sort of pretty. Yeah. It's if you're asking for yes or no, then when they go, oh well, it's a personal philosophy relationship. You know, we go get coffee on Tuesdays and chat about the beginning of the universe, right?
Right.
You answer yes or no.
Cult just stands for culture.
That is one of the most terrifying things
I've ever heard. Have you never heard that?
I've never heard that.
Oh,
no, that.
Yeah.
Wow. We're gonna have to have a conversation about that. Yeah. Yeah. While none of the atheists surveyed said they believe in the God of the Bible, so at least this survey didn't capture people that don't know what atheism means. About 18% of atheists in the survey said they believe in another higher power or spiritual force.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there's a call-in show that I do for this for the ACA called Talk Heathen, and you can call in 1 p.m. Central on Sunday, 512-686-0279, and we can have a conversation about why you're an atheist but also still believe in another spiritual or higher power.
Right.
It's
not a God.
Okay.
I think I think it's just ignorance, not really knowing, understanding definitions, really.
Yeah.
Or a lot of people are just afraid of the A word.
It's probably a little bit of that, but it's also just the interest.
You know, everybody knows you can be an atheist and still believe in elves. I mean, there's no problem there.
Sure,
they're not gods.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's
so
true.
you can do that. You're a weird atheist, but hey.
Yeah, you can still
as
believe
long as
in
as long as you believe in zero gods, you're
ghosts and Bigfoot and Chupacabra and all that.
Yeah, you can believe in all that crap. You can believe in ghosts and golems.
Yeah. Let's see. Young people were less likely than olders to believe. About 2/3 of adults 50 and over said they believe in God as in the Bible, while only 43% of those aged 18 to 29, which is down. Yeah.
Still way too high.
It's still way too high. Yeah, it's too near to half. I mean, basically, that's the main takeaway.
Yeah. That's interesting takeaway.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's also, I don't know, it brings hope. Maybe our movement will.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Yeah. Yes. So here, Dennis, did you have another story you were sitting
I love the headline to this one.
Okay.
Local pastors attempt to ban books from banned books display at Maine Public Library.
Are they trying to ban all of them?
I don't. A group of pastors in Rumford, Maine, are attempting to have LGBTQ books banned from the Rumford Public Library's display of banned books. The library is holding a board meeting today where the controversy will be discussed. The National Coalition Against Censorship and Comic Book Legal Defense Fund support Rumford Public Library's display and freedom to choose how best to serve the community.
Yeah.
So these were formally banned books, and am I getting that right?
Or no, I think the library put up a banned books display. That these are books that have been banned at one point or another. Yeah. And the pastors came by and said, well, gosh, let's completely unironically attempt to ban some of these.
It sounds like they're just trying to ban the gay ones, right?
Yes,
Their language, probably not mine. But I just want someone to say double secret banned book.
Yeah.
Like, I want someone to hear it.
Well, the display coincides with Banned Books Week, an annual celebration of the freedom to read, highlighting books that often draw challenges in schools and libraries. Half of the books on this year's American Library Association Top 10 Banned Books list tell stories of LGBTQ characters. Books representing a wide variety of experiences and voices allow readers, particularly children, to find connection, safely explore unfamiliar ideas, and broaden their understanding of the world. Now, of course, this story is from the National Coalition Against Censorship.
Okay.
So bear that in mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I have
citing
no reason
sources.
to think. Yes, I'm citing my source, and I have no reason to think they would really egregiously fabricate this nonsense. Yes.
I also, it's not an extraordinary claim, to be sure.
No, not extraordinary at all.
I missed which state it's in. Where is it?
Maine, I believe.
Okay.
Interesting.
Rumford, Maine.
Rumford, Maine. Wow.
Trying to ban banned books.
It's just the unacknowledged.
Wonderfully self-referential. I love it.
Yeah. So, Kevin, I think you have another story as well.
I do. Are we done with that?
Yes.
Did we?
Yes,
okay.
That's pretty much it.
Okay. We just wanted to
banned
laugh at
the
it.
end of that story.
Okay.
So we're.
Okay, we're mostly just gonna laugh at this too. So.
All right.
I think people need a good laugh.
Laughter helps.
And need to remember
Laughter
that
heals.
in a world where we want things and we don't always get everything that we want, we're still working to make the world a better place.
I want my earbuds to stay in. That's what I want right now.
That is a much easier ask. It's probably the way they're curled. Yeah.
Sorry, you'll have to bear with us, guys. Anyways, so this is from Coach Dave Daubenmire. The coach.
Dave Daubenmire, isn't he?
I don't know. I've never heard of him.
Wow.
The name is familiar, but it may be because I think you gave me a teaser of this story earlier.
Yeah, he's not a coach.
Oh wait, he just calls himself a coach? He's not even doesn't coach a team and isn't a life coach. Or
guys, if you don't listen to Cog Dis, that joke wasn't for you, and you didn't know it was a joke.
Okay.
Not a coach.
Well, I listen sometimes.
Anyways, so yeah,
Love you, Tom Cecil.
He did a webcast this morning, and he said it was about the election results. On his Past Assault live webcast this morning, religious right activist Dave Daubenmire reacted to the results of yesterday's midterm elections by flat out refusing to believe that Democrats actually won enough races nationwide to take control of the House of Representatives.
Wait,
no, he just no, he won't accept it.
But okay, so is this like a rejection of math? Of what a majority is?
Well, I mean, if you've seen any of his stuff, he's a bit of a conspiracy theorist. So yeah.
So it's like legitimately.
Ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Oh,
no, he refuses to believe that
it's all some sort of horrible.
Any Democrats won legitimately.
Right.
So I was going to say if he was going to prop up this grand conspiracy that the news had just lied about what the actual election results were.
No, he's a skeptic. He's a skeptic.
Yeah.
The abuse
He
of this
said,
Skeptic.
quote, something stinks last night. You'll never convince me. I wish I had my tinfoil hat on.
Yeah.
You'll never convince me.
wish you
Sorry,
did
that was
too.
verbatim. He said, I wish I had my tinfoil hat on.
Does he actually have a tinfoil hat?
No, but he said it.
Why would he say that?
So I'm gonna
That's
do it
Really
again.
odd. All right. Keep
Something
going.
stinks
self-aware.
last night. You'll never convince me. I wish I had my tinfoil hat on. You'll never convince me that there are that many people with the condition that America is in, that America is on the upswing, that many people would come out to vote Democrat. I'm sorry. I don't believe it.
I mean,
He doesn't believe it.
He doesn't believe it.
wow. It's like,
It's because we're just doing so amazing on
Yeah, we're on
all
the
fronts.
upswing.
There's no possible way.
No foreign countries are just laughing at us.
There's no possible way anybody would want to not vote Republican. He doesn't
I
believe
mean,
it.
for that to happen, Putin would have had to lose the House. I mean, that's terrible.
yeah. I mean, did you just say Putin would have to lose the house?
That was subtle.
I'm sorry. I misspoke.
You meant you meant the dear leader
Something else. Yeah.
Trump. No, it's interesting. It's like there's some quote about Nixon's reelection where there's a person in D.C. who's like, I don't understand how Nixon thinks he has a chance. I've asked all my friends and none of them are voting for him. I'm like, yeah,
Oh,
that's
jeez.
your sample size is your sample
skewed.
is biased based on the people that you yeah. Oh my God. Okay. Well.
Is that it?
Yeah.
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 It's
I mean, he warned us.
I
It would
can't
probably
believe it.
mostly be a laugher.
No, just Coach Dave saying something silly.
Oh my God. That's almost sounds like the name of a segment. Should be. How often does he
Coach
talk?
Dave.
Not a coach.
No. Coach Dave, not a coach last name.
Yeah.
So I'll take
do
the
you
next
got?
story. Yeah.
All right.
Saudi Arabia is going to inoculate, in quotes their word,
Oh,
children against westernization, atheism, and liberalism.
What?
Yeah, the government program targets threats to, quote, ideological security in schools. Saudi Arabia is launching a program to inoculate its students against, as I said, ideological security.
Is this going to be penicillin or what?
No. They mean with God.
Carefully
God is
arranged
gonna
propaganda.
Spiritual
Yes.
and intellectual
Yeah.
inoculation.
It's funny because my knee-jerk reaction is just to say, oh, they mean with Jesus. But they don't. They mean whatever Muhammad
Inoculate
said.
them with
Yeah.
threats and propaganda. Yeah.
They're getting that wrong. You can't infect
No.
children with terrible ideologies while inoculating them.
Yeah.
I mean, those things
I mean,
are contradictory.
It's sort of, it's interesting because it's different than diseases because it's not like if you get gonorrhea, it kills off your syphilis. It's sort of like, okay, well, in religions, you can't catch, fundamentalist Islam and also fundamentalist Christianity. They don't work together. But in any case, they
It would be have to be
listed
spectacular case of what do they call it?
Compartmentalization. Yeah, that would be
Spectacular.
amazing.
Or maybe like brain damage and they got a split personality.
Or Christian in the right lobe, Muslim in the left lobe. It's like,
Where's that TV show?
Yeah, I know. It's
so go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no. So basically, the education ministry announced their plans in the Macaw newspaper. I'm going to go ahead and just say I don't know how to pronounce anything. The Middle East Media Research Institute said, which sparked a storm of debate and an Arabic hashtag that translates as liberalism is a dangerous group. I'm going to go ahead and clarify here because in the United States, liberal and liberalism means a specific viewpoint as far as policies go, but they mean liberalism as in liberal democracies. So the idea that voting is a thing is liberal.
But it's like guys who sit around and go, dude.
Yeah, it's sort of
dangerous, man.
Yeah. So to be clear, it's an old story, but this is something that they launched a few years ago and have been able to keep up with.
Yeah, I wonder how it's going.
Yeah, haven't heard much about it. Yeah. So they've had criticism. The critics called it a danger to security and a disaster for religious freedom and intellectual debate in Saudi Arabia.
Did they actually describe what this inoculation consists of?
No, I didn't find a description of it.
Probably just run-of-the-mill indoctrination, I would assume.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's that. I think it's them going back and
every
making sure
moment
that,
of every day, I imagine.
Yeah.
And also trying to do like a media blackout on
Any liberal.
any Western media content.
Well, there's probably some of that, but mostly
great
it's sort
that
of
they're our allies.
Right?
Middle Eastern politics is complicated. I'll throw that. I'm an atheist, and if I was president, I would still meet with their diplomats. So basically, it's sort of interesting that even in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, they still are aiming to insulate this because, the world is getting smaller, as they say. But blasphemy is already a capital offense. There are already immorality laws, and the police of vice and virtue are a thing. So I don't really know what else they could do.
Outreach to evangelicals to do the same thing here. That's what they could freaking do.
Yeah, they could do that. Yeah. I don't know. In any case, it's interesting because when the Richard Dawkins Foundation, whichever foundation partnered with Peter Boghossian and what's his name to release the Atheos app, which I recommend, which teaches street epistemology and talking to people out of their beliefs. It was downloaded over 1 million times in Saudi Arabia.
That's right.
So it's almost like
Interesting.
It's almost like there's a fundamental element of humanity that doesn't buy it.
Doesn't want to be squashed.
Doesn't want to be squashed, and then when you walk past the public square where people are being beheaded, sometimes that can...
You got the whole government trying to set up a dystopia, and you've got the human spirit trying with its tooth and nail to say, no.
Human spirit versus Holy Spirit. Who's going to win in the end?
We know who the hero is, and we know who the villain is.
Yep. It's just the world doesn't see it clearly.
Yeah, but I mean, women can drive now, guys.
Yeah. I mean, they're still working
better.
on not having to be escorted by men everywhere. And I forget whether the age is 6 or 7 as far as how old a man has to be before he can give his mother permission to leave the house.
Actually, I hadn't
I just
heard
wanted
that
to see
one,
what
man.
Dennis's response was.
I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like that in Saudi Arabia where I have like a bunch of follow-up questions about how that even works logistically.
Yeah.
But too much of me doesn't want to know.
You'll find a imam for any purpose.
Yeah. In any case, Kevin, did you have the next story?
I suppose. I mean,
I've got one.
Well, Dennis,
do you have one, or
then.
do you have a question?
Well,
perhaps?
no, I'll do a story here.
Okay.
Christian TV host. If Democrats win, they will slaughter tens of thousands of Christians.
Wow.
So, get prepared, folks. I guess.
All right. Well,
we're going to be doing tons of slaughtering, I guess.
It's vague, though. I mean,
it is sort of vague.
It is.
Win the House, win the Senate.
Christian TV
win
host
both.
Rick Wiles warns viewers that if Democrats win power, they will slaughter tens of thousands of Christians. Wiles, host of True News, a television news program, in scare quotes, produced for conservative Christians, explained to his audience that it was important to get out and vote Republican because if the Democrats get power, they're going to slaughter tens of thousands of pastors, tens of thousands of Christians. Speaking on his program earlier this week, Wiles said, "This Marxist, communist, antichrist revolution that is in full bloom in the United States of America, this thing is anti-Christian. They hate God. These people are against God. These people love to abort babies. They love to promote sexual immorality. Everything that drives them is in opposition to God and his moral laws. That is the centerpiece of their agenda." Wiles warned.
Oh, no.
Every nation that has been taken over by Marxist communists, they immediately kill the pastors. They immediately kill Christians. They immediately burn the churches. Why? Because the cross is their enemy. Do not be fooled by what's happening in America. The antichrists in America, their enemy is not the Republican Party. Their enemy isn't corporations. Their enemy is the church. They're coming against the church, and they've been warning people for years and years and years. You better get ready. You better be prepared. If these people ever get power, they're going to slaughter tens of thousands of pastors, tens of thousands of Christians. Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say
our enemy is the cross.
That's it.
Yeah.
Gotta be.
We vampires. I mean,
yes,
I don't
like vampires.
Yeah. There's so much to unpack there.
Yeah,
Fuck.
I thought I was going to start with pointing out that Marxist communism is a dumb contraction. That's like, but that's sort of like there's an entire edifice of ridiculousness there, and I'm just like, well, let me just this small piece. Like,
Right.
If it's communism, yeah, it's influenced by Marx. Which kind? Marxist, Leninism, whatever.
Yep. This is the kind of things they say.
It's amazing
The kind of things they tell
the lengths that they have
listeners.
to go to scare their base. It's
Marxist communists. It's sort of like,
damn.
yeah,
Let the slaughter begin.
yeah. Your First Amendment rights are guaranteed by your Second Amendment rights, just like Jesus did.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that evangelical Christians are not the majority of this country.
Well, he defended your First Amendment right to use a scourge on.
Yeah.
I
Jesus.
guess
I don't know.
if they set up a Starbucks in a church, then you could use your scourge to drive them out or something. I guess. Right.
Well, that
Turn over their tables.
interesting. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
The money changers.
Yes.
I mean, how unbelievably intellectually dishonest.
Yeah. Slaughter
Just
tens of
such a
thousands of
fucking
Christians.
crazy worldview.
Yeah.
That you could even be persuaded by that.
Yeah,
Who mailed bombs? I don't know.
Although
Marxist
I'm
communists,
assuming someone was persuaded by that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Surely someone.
I mean, I don't know whether they.
Hiding in their house now, waiting for the riots and.
Do you think someone, I mean, if anyone was genuinely persuaded by that,
They didn't go out and
How-
buy guns because they already had them.
yeah, or are they all just kind of in on it and lying to each other, and no one wants to break with the act?
I
Because that
don't
is
know.
just lunacy.
Crazy.
I'm willing to say that I think that they believe it only as much as they've thought about it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that they don't. In general, I don't see Christian TV hosts of news, in scare quotes, networks being the most thoughtful and reflective people, at least in the limited way that I've observed.
It strikes me as, hypnotism. Everyone is playing along, and if everyone doesn't play along, the hypnotism doesn't work.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, really, at that point, it's just sort of hypnotism.
Not a
via,
real thing.
Yeah. Indoctrination. Yeah. Well, I mean, the problem is also Jesus isn't a real thing. So we've got a long way to go as far as getting them in line with real things. Did you have a story? As well?
Yeah, I suppose so. Do we have something
I've got some
lighthearted
shit.
to
Yeah.
follow this up with?
I've got some be upset at something ridiculous to follow this with.
Okay.
But the kind of like upset at this that people that are whatever. Yeah, let's do yours.
All right. So this is a little bit of an older story. This is from maybe 2.5, maybe a little more than 2.5 weeks ago.
Hey,
But it is still relevant.
this is our 3rd week episode. So.
Yeah.
It's been so long.
Oh, it's been so
feels
long.
weird
It's
being
been
here.
a long time. Yes.
All right.
We should do these shows more often.
So, yeah. Washington State Representative Matt Shea acknowledged he had distributed a 4-page manifesto titled, quote, Biblical Basis for War, which describes the Christian God as a, quote, warrior, details the composition and strategies of a, quote, holy army, and condemns abortion and same-sex marriage. Now, Shea, he did acknowledge that that he wrote this, and he claimed that
Brave.
these things were taken out of context and that they were meant to be in a sermon.
So,
However,
that makes it
yeah.
Oh, okay.
so much better.
well, that,
However, that's not what the local sheriff must have thought. The Republican local sheriff, by the way, immediately turned these documents over to the FBI as soon as he saw them.
yeah.
And the FBI, or a representative from the FBI said, quote, we received the request from the sheriff's office to review the documents. Spokesman said, the FBI is considering the facts to determine if there is a possibility of a federal criminal violation. However, a review does not necessarily result in the opening of an investigation.
Right.
So this might come back to bite this guy, but we don't know. So, I mean, how did they get a hold of this this manifesto? Well, it was shared by a man named Tanner Rowe. He said he had obtained it in August from a person close to Shea.
Okay. So, so he's
Yeah.
passing out this thing.
Yeah. Rowe and other sources said the document resembles the work of Marble Community Fellowship, a Stevens County congregation that said the practice. Oh, they are Christian Dominionists.
Right.
Ah, well,
Yeah.
okay. I mean,
They are like super hardline,
yeah, so it was
far
meant to be
right-wing
this.
extremists.
Everyone must bow.
Yeah. So, I mean, why is that important? Well, one, they're far-right crazy people, and also, funny enough, they've been pushing for a 51st state called, and get this, Liberty.
Wait,
Of course.
where?
Washington.
They do. Washington isn't free enough for them?
Somewhere in Washington state, they want to make a 51st state called Liberty. Anyways, the
Well,
leader...
if it will attract them all to one little place, I say more power to them.
If Liberty becomes the 51st state instead of Puerto Rico or somewhere, I'm going to be
Oh, that's a good point.
so pissed.
Be fucked up. I don't think we have to worry about that because
52. Fine.
the leader of this Christian Dominionism congregation, Barry Bird, he has a bit of a checkered past. He, in 1988, also wrote a manifesto referring to Jews as antichrists and condemning interracial marriage. However, Shea has still been a featured speaker at their congregation on their 4th of July God and Country celebration.
It's so gross. It's not. It's not about religion. It's the government. They're supposed to. It's supposed to be different.
So,
Whatever. No, it's wait.
So,
So,
yeah.
wait. He was the one. Shea was the one that had the anti-Semitic no interracial marriage, or was
no,
that the pastor?
that was the pastor of
Okay.
the church that he is cozy with.
I say okay. It's actually not. But oh wow.
Yeah. So I mean, as I said, this is kind of an old story. So why does it matter? Well, remember, everyone voted yesterday.
Oh God. And he was a state rep, or
he was a House of Representatives, 4th District in Washington State. He was the incumbent, and he was reelected.
Of course.
About 58%.
Sure.
and he gets to vote on the laws that the FBI enforces. Just
And as I said, this is an old story.
Yeah.
This broke before people got to vote.
And still.
yeah.
Yeah. And nobody cared enough, apparently.
Yeah. Wow. That's yeah. Hey, theocracy. There are people in America that want it.
Yeah.
Don't fucking tell me there aren't. I don't know.
Yep.
I don't know, Dennis.
I mean,
you got
I
any
don't know.
extra insight
Oh, on this?
or story that it's easy to?
I do have a question.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
do you have a
I feel like I
question?
left something
I
out,
do.
but
Oh.
One.
Make
I
sure
actually
first.
I printed out the manifesto, but I left it in the other room.
Oh darn.
Yeah.
How are we
It's-
going to know how to take over the country for Jesus now?
It's not that hard to find. If you guys want to take a look at it,
For the work for Jesus should
yeah,
work for
you can
Satan.
look it up.
Yeah. Also, wait, they're calling it a manifesto, but it's only 4 pages.
Yeah, it's a bullet point.
I feel like
It's all bullet points. It's
I don't know. I know that manifesto doesn't have a specific grandiose meaning.
it looked. I read through the whole thing. Like you said, it's 4 pages. Not
Yeah.
Okay.
It very much looked like an outline for like a militant takeover, which ties in with the whole
Yeah.
crazy right-wing extremist church wanting to start their 51st state.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there were
It was,
people.
it was guidelines. It was guidelines for, you know, biblical basis for war.
Yeah. It is sort of.
That was the title of the thing was biblical basis for war. Yeah.
Wow. So they're gonna get their 51st state by force. Is their plan?
Yeah.
That seems like it would not work.
That's going to work
I feel
really
like
well.
I feel like there are people that have said, you know what, government of the United States, we've got guns and we want to do our own government thing.
Yeah, that sounds like it's going to be another Ruby Ridge or something.
Yeah. It's probably a more realistic analogy than the Civil War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he just got reelected, 58%, thereabouts.
Well. Yeah. No. That's. Hey,
Your
remember
vote
that you
counts,
should
guys.
vote. Yeah.
Your vote counts. Yeah.
It literally does. It is literally counted and changes the numerical outcome of the election.
Yeah.
I'm really tired of people telling me their vote doesn't count. If you voted every election, then every election would look like this one. Sorry, just. Oh my gosh, there's so much turnout. They actually have to care about what people think, as opposed to what the hardliners that will always vote because they have one issue that happens to be something that you disagree with. I think you.
I have a question.
Yes.
okay.
You have a question.
Yes. The question is, why are Christians so desperate to avoid perfect justice?
Define perfect justice?
Well, we'll go to hell.
Okay.
If you accept Jesus, right, you'll go to heaven. If you don't, you'll go to hell. But either way, you're receiving perfect justice. So it's like,
I guess by their definition.
by their definition.
Their definition.
And so why would they seek to avoid perfect justice?
Well, because they love us so much.
By taking the Jesus,
Cop out.
loophole, cop out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
they could say
it's
that
perfect.
it's perfectly just that worshiping Jesus gets you out of hell if you fuck up the word justice. Although,
I mean, obviously they don't want to take responsibility for their actions. So
well, I mean,
so they'll
pray.
They'll take
sure.
the Jesus route. But I mean,
yeah.
if God determines you're going to hell, well, then it's a perfect judgment, and it's what you deserve. Why wouldn't they welcome that as well?
So what's interesting is the predestination and like Calvinist influenced denominations do. They go, oh, only God's elect are going to get in.
Are going to go, and everybody else.
And if it's me, that's God's will. Except I got to go ahead and say that in the back of their mind, they probably believe
They think they're part of that elect.
Yeah. It's a sort of limited heaven occupancy, limited to 144,000, but I'm definitely one of them.
Yeah. Who is it that believes in that? Is it Jehovah's Witnesses?
I think it's Jehovah's Witnesses,
yeah.
It's sort of like, haven't there been like generation after generation after generation after generation of Jehovah's Witnesses? And there's like...
So statistically, by now,
sort of like,
heaven should be full.
Yeah, so it's like all of the people that founded this particular denomination, they're not doing it right.
Putting an upper limit on how many people are in heaven actually kind of makes sense, because God's original plan was that no one get there.
Yeah.
Which is really weird.
Well, but now he wants to throw the largest house party ever, so he's going to invite
so it's, what
anyone.
the hell?
He'll invite anyone that
changed his mind.
he'll invite anyone that loves him, and that's why they get to party in the sky.
So anyway,
hashtag heaven party.
Seems
God's
childish.
house.
Yeah.
Perfect justice. Seems they'd be proud to accept perfect justice. I mean, the only reason they'd take the Christian method is that they think, they take the Christ path to escape it, is because they think God's perfect justice is too harsh. They know better than God
Boom.
what a real perfect justice is.
Yeah. Boom.
Boom. That's what I say.
Yeah. Dennis says...
Thank you for that little mic
boom.
drop. That was great.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
So I actually
Mind
have...
blown.
Do you have another... I think you got through your main stories. Did you have another story you wanted to hit?
I can hit another story.
Well, do you have one that you particularly want to, or should we?
Sure. This one won't be as cheerful as the others, but
Oh boy.
well, we're talking about
bring it on.
world domination, so I might as well not care.
World domination. The results of the election were promising for the separation of church and state in the long term.
Yeah, this one, let's see.
Right. Yeah, let's hear it.
22-year-old Christian preacher clarifies that he wants gays executed humanely. Oh, well, that's...
That was the part that we were having a problem with, dude.
Yeah.
That was our part.
Yep.
How are you going to kill him,
We didn't
though?
need this unnecessary
How?
cruelty.
I mean,
What's the metric
Matt
he's using
Powell
exactly?
is a young Christian preacher
Matt
with a little over 350 YouTube subscribers who is trying to create a following for himself. The problem is that whenever his videos get any sort of attention, it's because he's saying incredibly reprehensible things. Earlier this month, Powell appeared on a webcast with atheist YouTuber Skylar Fiction.
Oh, yeah. Oh, this guy.
I don't know that guy.
Well,
where the
there's
two
a
got
lot of
into a
us now.
discussion about the harm that Christianity promotes, such as anti-homosexuality.
Okay, I remember this.
Powell wasn't shy about sharing his views on how gay people should be dealt with. As far as homosexuality goes, I believe the Bible puts the death penalty on it, Powell said. I believe it's disgusting. And incidentally, every scientific test has come back and said that homosexuals are 50 times more likely to get AIDS. We got this AIDS thing spreading. It's a fact that this is the case. And of course, false, right?
Yeah. AIDS is a problem, but
yes, it is.
It's not the 80s anymore.
Yeah, also, he doesn't give a shit about that.
Right. No, he doesn't.
He doesn't care in the slightest. I mean, he wants to kill gays.
Skylar asked, "You don't believe that gay people should be stoned to death, do you?" "I believe the Bible puts the death penalty on it," Powell replied. "Obviously, not by me or anybody in a regular society, obviously. I believe it's the government's job to execute criminals. I believe that the Bible says clearly that homosexuality is a criminal crime. It's a crime. It's one of the worst crimes ever."
Oh, my God.
So he's one of those big government evangelicals?
Yeah. I remember this quote now because I remember thinking about.
I think I heard this one myself, too.
Yeah, the criminal crime as opposed to
criminal crime, which is
the criminal crime. It's one of the
insane
worst crimes
phrase.
ever. Yeah.
Is that what you're advocating for, Schuyler Press, that our government should stone gays to death to execute them? Powell took the opportunity to state that he believes in humane executions when it comes to gay people. By whatever means they execute people, and obviously I believe in humane,
What a
putting to
fucking
death,
progressive.
Powell replied.
Humane, putting to death.
Putting to death. Schuyler then pointed out that Powell's use of the word humane when talking about executing people for the mere fact that they're gay was ghoulishly hypocritical. Whatever, this is not an unbiased story here.
No.
Whatever our government says as far as for a death penalty, I think should go for them, Powell clarified.
Okay.
So obviously, like electric chair or lethal injection.
It's just lethal injection. What do you got? What's your objection to lethal injection for all the gays? I don't understand now.
This story was from Dead State, which I imagine is a pretty biased source.
Yeah.
But
certainly
he actually said it. You can probably go to YouTube and find that video.
He did
and
definitely say that.
Yeah.
I remember that because it got the video got bumped for a while. I mean, this is a little bit of a last time on the Non-Prophets flashback.
Oh yeah,
a little bit. But we covered it when the video got bumped because it had Matt Powell's words in it, and so therefore the video was hate speech.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Okay. No, that's the opposite of how that's supposed to work. But it's the blasphemy laws and how well they're parodied in Life of Brian. But in any case, I'll not run off on that rabbit hole, entirely unprompted. Instead, I think we will proceed to the age-old favorite, Shit Internet Apologists Say! With today's special internet apologist being a person who would say, I'm what you'd call an agnostic, who has something to say about why science can't replace religion, and has something to say about the myths that, quote, new atheists tell themselves. So, buckle in. It's going to be possibly even more annoying because there's someone that doesn't believe in God that believes that you should shut up about it, apparently.
Right.
Wow. Okay.
Brace yourselves. I'm what you'd call an agnostic. I don't know if God exists, but the question is probably unanswerable, so I'm content to live in the uncertainty. That's probably why I've always found the so-called new atheists misguided in their critiques of religion. New atheism is a literary movement. Oh my God. All right, sorry. Literary movement that sprung up in 2004, led by prominent authors like Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, and Christopher Hitchens. For whatever reasons, he left off Dennett there. I don't know.
Dillahunty.
Although they were right about a lot of things, the new atheists missed something essential about the role of religion. For them, religion was just a pseudoscience, our first attempt at biology and history and physics. But religion is so much more than a set of claims about the world, and you can't fully understand it if you don't account for that. Actually, I'm not sure this person read any of Hitchens. John Gray is a British philosopher whose latest book, 7 Types of Atheism, explores the history of atheism. I'm not sure how fun a conversation between me and him would be for him. It's both an affirmation and critique of atheism written by an atheist who is aware of all its contradictions. This is the article speaking, not me.
Yeah, and what contradictions would those be?
He knows about them. Don't worry.
Oh, okay, good.
Don't worry. It doesn't try and bring those up. Gray has been one of the most forceful critics of the new atheists since they first emerged on the scene, and his new book continues in that vein. What follows is...
He has some sort of a problem.
Yeah. So the author of the article interviewed him, and we have a rough transcript that's shortened, but effectively, Gray told me that new atheists are shaped by myths of their own, and that their failure to understand or acknowledge that is one of the biggest flaws of their movement. He also said that atheism is far more interesting when it seriously asks what it's like to live in a genuinely godless world.
So what was the first part of that?
The myths.
Myths.
Of their own.
What myths? What myths?
All right, so let's see.
Yeah.
Does he explain? Because he fucking better.
Yeah. Okay, so the question he's asked that prompts this answer is, I see you as someone who enjoys exposing the hypocrisies of people who enjoy exposing the hypocrisies of others. Is that how you see yourself? And John Gray replies, indeed, I'm a skeptic by nature.
Oh, that word is getting a lot of abuse lately.
Isn't it?
I'm skeptical.
I'm skeptical of your claim that skeptic is getting a lot of abuse.
A lot of abuse, yeah.
I'm skeptical of John Gray's.
Go ahead. Keep going.
Yeah.
Keep going.
So I'm resistant to claims by anyone to have complete answers to intractable human problems. I'm particularly annoyed by what's now called new atheism. I react strongly against those who debunk the beliefs of others in a way that I find bullying and shallow. The new atheist.
So you don't like the tone?
Yeah.
Now it's not myths, it's the tone.
Yeah.
Well, fuck you. Grow up.
You really, you really should see Matt's Magic and Skepticism show.
Yeah.
That'll clear that up for him.
Yeah. Keep going.
The new atheists, Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins, and others, attack religions in the sublime confidence that these religions are myths and that they themselves harbor no myths, but that's not true. Wait.
Show me.
All right. In many cases, the new atheists are animated by 19th century myths of various kinds. Myths of human advancement.
Myths such as?
Myths of human advancement. Myths of what science can and cannot do, and all kinds of other myths. So yeah, I'm compelled to attack anyone who is debunking others for their reliance on myths when the debunkers themselves can't see how their own thinking is shaped by myths.
And you can't name a single one.
Oh, shit.
Damn you, dork.
Something as ancient, as profound, as inexplicably rich as religion, or I'm sorry, inexhaustibly rich as religion, or religions.
You know, there are, I'm sorry.
No. I knew this would get you.
I mean, I have to say this. There is incredibly rich writings about Hogwarts.
Yep.
You know, people have written tons of
fan fiction.
Fanfic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Word escaped me for a moment. About Star Wars and
yeah.
Hogwarts and blah blah blah. It's incredibly rich, and none of it's real.
Yeah.
God,
what? Don't be a bully or shallow when you say it, though.
No, right? Yeah.
Come in hand with the truth. We don't want you to be.
This feels a little Jordan Peterson-esque. Like,
Does it?
yeah, like, oh, some people think that it has value that makes it true.
Yeah.
It's feeling a little bit like that. I also feel like this is more or less an article that is meant to sell this guy's book.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He's purposely leaving out
Yeah.
anything to back up anything he's saying.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, yeah, if you want to hear more about it, you can read about it in his book.
What it's sounding
yeah.
like right now is his whole book is just a big tone troll.
Yeah. Well, no, basically,
Wow.
it's I
He's
feel like
trying
it's,
to bait people into buying his crap.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like it's the academic equivalent of a person being like, well, but I don't believe, but don't be mean. Just add
Is
add
there
a
more?
PhD. Oh, yes. You thought you were going to get off that easy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
Something as ancient, as profound, as inexhaustibly rich as religion or religions can't really be written off as an intellectual error by clever people. Most of these clever people are not that clever when compared with really clever people like Wittgenstein or St. Augustine or Pascal. All philosophers of the past who's seriously engaged.
Let's appeal to authority now.
The religious perspective. Oh, here we go. These new atheists are mostly ignorant of religion and only really concerned with a particular kind of monotheism, which is a narrow segment of the broader religious world.
Probably the segment of monotheism that is doing the worst fucking damage.
Yeah.
You sound like Dan Carlin.
Well, it's interesting because the thing that the Four Horsemen, as they're sometimes called, said inspired them to write was the attacks of September 11th. They were like, all right, now I need to talk about the problems that faith can cause in the world. So the interviewer asks, okay. So Sean, who's interviewing him, asks, my complaint with the new atheists has always been their insistence on treating God as a purely epistemological question. I don't think you can... Sorry. Yes, the existence of...
You claim it exists. We don't believe you.
Yeah. But what if we have holidays?
There's a lot of confusion going on in this interview.
This is amazing.
This is the interviewer, which shows me where the direction of this goes.
This is great.
He continues, I don't think you can make sense of religion if you only see it as a system of beliefs. In the book.
What?
In the book.
What? Sorry, what else is it?
Yeah, I have no defense for this statement. In the book, you make a similar point in a slightly different way, saying that the human mind is programmed for survival, not for truth, and I'm curious what you mean by that. That is an accurate statement. He might actually get me to read his book with that.
That's the first true statement we've heard here.
Yeah.
All right.
The author, The author answers that with, the human mind is like every other animal mind, if Darwinism is right.
Thank you.
And I think it's the best approximation we have to the truth about how humans came into the world.
Okay.
It's not an approximation, but he's good so far. Then all aspects of the human animal are shaped by the imperatives of survival.
Okay.
Sure.
When's he going to go off the rails here?
Brace yourself.
You mean again?
Yeah. Wait for that. It's going to be a surprise attack.
Oh, good.
All right.
Good.
That includes the human mind. So there's a deep-seated tendency in the human mind to see the world in ways which promote human survival, and the tendency to obsess over reason and rationality overlooks this fact.
But what?
Many of our...
Reason and rationality it was reached by reason and rationality. How does it overlook a thing that was reached by it?
But it's the tendency to obsess over reason and rationality overlooks the fact that the human mind... I'm sorry. Does he know that psychology exists? That's what reason and rationality apply to that.
Okay.
Many of our most important ideas or conceptions aren't really intellectual solutions to intellectual problems. I think that's what you had in mind when you said earlier that the new atheists irritated you because they treated the idea of God as a kind of theoretical or epistemological question. There's this silly idea that we have no need for religion anymore because we have science, but this is an incredibly foolish notion since religion addresses different needs than science, needs that science can't address. I mean, I have the response to that, which is that we don't need religion now because we never did.
Right.
Yeah. We needed culture, we needed community.
But Jamie, it helps people cope with death.
No, it doesn't.
I mean...
And look at all the churches.
And
the music.
It comforts people. It
look
comforts
at the pretty,
people.
pretty buildings. And listen to the pretty, pretty songs, as long as they're not Christian rock.
It helps to create a culture that is hamstrung by the problems that it purports to solve.
Yep.
Yeah, that it created to solve. Yes.
I mean, I've heard, obviously, we've heard Eric say it time and time again, religion will break your leg to sell you a crutch.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good one.
You know?
Eric said that.
Yes.
Matt said that.
That's awesome.
It's a good one. It's also an interesting business model if you can get away with it.
Break your brain to sell you a cheap replacement.
Yeah, societally, That's what religion does. It kind of weakens it breaks down your defenses so it can,
Yes. Religion, the Windows Vista of epistemologies. So, I think that's right, but can you unpack that a bit so it's clear what you mean? The author continues. For example, there are still people who treat the myths of religion, like the Genesis story, as some kind of literal truth, even though they were understood by Jewish thinkers and theologians of the time as parables. Genesis is not a theory of the origins of the world.
There's an entire
fucking
huge population of people living in this country that treat it exactly that way, and we should not address it as a problem because why?
Yeah,
Well, you're being
apparently AIG doesn't exist.
Yeah. It's
Just a
not
figment of my
obsolete
imagination.
primitive science. It's not a solution to the problem of knowledge. I mean, I can agree with that. Religion isn't like that. Religion is a body of practices, of stories and images, whereby humans create or find meanings in their lives. In other words, it's not a search for explanation. Even if everything in the world were suddenly explained by science, we would still be asking what it all means. That's where religion steps in. Well, no, it's the last place that
It's
people
where
let
religion
in.
makes shit up.
Yeah.
It's also the wrong question.
Yeah. It's like, what does it all mean? It's like, oh, no. Religion steps in to get you to ask that question and then answer it the worst way possible.
Yeah.
Right. I should do less of the criticizing of my own example. I feel like the shit internet apologists say is me bringing something to make you lose your shit, and I think I got you this week for the most part.
Yeah.
Little bit. Let's see. Look, specific religious ideas like the notion that life begins at the moment of conception or that homosexuality is sinful are causing real harm in the world, and so we're morally obliged to attack those ideas.
Yeah. And who puts them forth?
So this
religion.
Asshole.
This is the author quoting what he thinks new atheists would say and asking, the interviewer, asking, and how would you respond to that? And Mr. John Gray answers, there's no doubt that religions have contained many ideas that have caused humans harm. There's not the slightest doubt about that. All human institutions cast a shadow which comes from the evil they carry within themselves. To give you an example, I think the Christian idea of original sin has an important truth in it. Oh, God.
What the fuck?
Which is that humans are divided animals. They're different from any other animal on the planet in that they regret and sometimes even hate the impulses that guide them to act as they do. It's a key feature of the human animal, captured by this myth of original sin. But from the very start, the idea of original sin was caught up with a kind of obsessive interest in and hatred of human sexuality, which poisoned it to the core. At the same time, we should remember that many of the secular religions of the 20th century condemned gay people, for example. Also,
Gracious, this guy's just masturbating all over the place.
The concept of original sin was to keep you in an endless rat race of trying to fix yourself because you are inherently broken and you can never, ever be unbroken.
Yeah.
But Jesus.
But Jesus,
will provide the cure.
He goes on. Homosexuality.
But only in the afterlife, though.
Yeah.
No matter what.
in the
But as long as you're alive, you will never make up for your inherent brokenness. You're garbage.
I have to assume that like about 6 Christians think of religion the way this guy does.
I mean, maybe.
And so it's like, you're ignoring
religion, all of the
which
shit.
is like,
homosexuality was illegal for most of the time that the Soviet Union existed. Presumably, this is him addressing that many of the, quote, secular religions of the 20th century, so presumably that means the Soviet Union, doctors who performed abortions in communist Romania could be sent to prison and in some cases even subjected to capital punishment. Many of the worst features or the worst human harms inflicted by monotheism have been paralleled in the secular religions of modern times.
Why did the secular governments do that?
I think it's not. I don't think it's.
I
fair
think
to call
it's
them
because
secular.
of freaking religion.
Yeah. So
Well, I mean, they were assholes, but they didn't use atheism to justify inhumanity.
Yeah.
The way that religion uses religion to justify
Yeah. They're
inhumanity.
going to do their inhumanity in their God's name.
That is like saying the Crusades are the same as the Pol Pot.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Pol Pot was an atheist, therefore, you know, he's just as bad.
There's no logical path from there.
The deaths that happened because of him are the same as the deaths that happened because of the Crusades. That bullshit.
Yeah.
His atheism, his non-belief, did not orchestrate. It didn't justify the inhumanity that he did.
Yeah. There's no logical path from, you know, there's no God to let's round up gays.
Yeah, this is fucking stupid.
It's nonsense.
There is a logical path from Stalin is hyper paranoid and grossed out by gays, therefore we kill them.
Yeah.
There's a good non-stamp collector YouTube video that addresses that, where he just has dictators stating what their agenda was in their own words. But we can finish on this part probably.
Please.
So ideas do have consequences. All we can do is try to embody these traditions as much as possible. There isn't some form of life, not even an imaginary type of pure liberalism, that is free of these terrible consequences. Being the terrible consequences that are, human harms inflicted by monotheism in this. So,
let's not try.
Yeah, that's always my favorite. Is people the other stuff is bad too. When your ultimate defense of a whole set of worldviews is, they did it too. Quo quay.
Yeah, it's just a whataboutism.
Yeah.
And he really didn't acknowledge any kind of humanistic philosophy.
Don't think I'll be
at all.
buying this book.
I mean, does he not know it exists, or
possibly?
Yeah.
As I will mangle the English language, it's sort of it's like, well, oh yeah, other people have committed atrocities too, so everything is equally fucked up. Ha 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 ha. No, it fucking isn't. I'm sorry. No, wrong. I don't understand how you cannot see the difference there. No. In any case,
this guy read The Moral Landscape and then just
did he?
Didn't understand it.
Yeah.
He just fucking hit himself in the head with a hammer. He's like, nope, didn't like that.
Yep.
Didn't like it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna forget that it even exists.
Well, I think on that note, Dennis, are you ready to take us out?
I'm getting there. Yes, I am ready.
All right.
All right, folks. Well, that was our show. Prove it wasn't. If you can't, then we'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks on the 21st of November. So there. Checkmate, non-prophetists.